Hi everyone, as you all know, I have quit my job, so I am looking for a sales job, and my dad tried to give me tips, and he says that reading this book will help my sales, how to win friends and influence people. Okay, so this book is published in the 1936, so not sure how relevant it is today, but okay, here goes. I'll be giving a summary and I'll be commenting as I read the summary lah. Yeah, I summarized it in PowerPoint slides for you all to read easily. Okay, so the book is split into 4 parts. First part is fundamental techniques in handling people. Second part is ways to make people like you. And part 3 is how to win people to your way of thinking. And fourth is how to become a leader. How to become a leader, you everyday learn in uni already lah. I think maybe can skip this chapter. I don't know. Okay, so in each of the parts, right, there are these few points that there are these few points. So you can take a look at them later because I will discuss it in detail. Okay, so the first point of how to handle people is if you want to gather money, don't kick over the beehive. Okay, so what the author is saying, all the criminals, right, they never ever thought of themselves as big bad guys. They all think that they are doing a public good, always never blame themselves for anything. So if this kind of criminals think that of themselves, then most people will always think they are correct lah. So don't try to criticize other people. So if they are wrong, maybe just continue, let them do what they want lah. So I will speak ill of no man and speak all the good that I know of everybody. Okay. For this point, right, I think is half true only lah. There's an extent that you can don't criticize people lah. Like for example, really like 1 + 1 = 3, you tell him correct, then I also don't know what to say lor. Yeah. Okay, next point. Okay, apparently it's a big secret of dealing with people by making the other person want to do it. So what do normal people want? So normal people want all these things lah. Okay. And then he says the most important one, right, is not all these things, but it's the desire to be great and the desire to become important. So how do you get your feeling of importance? It determines your character according to the writer. So got some people, they feel important by donating money. Got some people feel important by being a bandit or a killer. So how you feel important determines how you are lah. Okay, and then he goes on to talk about what is the cause of insanity. So his own conclusion is nobody knows for sure. They talk about this story about having a patient whose marriage was like super lousy, and then the husband don't care about her. Then after that she go crazy. Then she think that she had divorced her husband and resumed her maiden name and married again into English aristocracy. So she insists on being called Lady Smith, which is obviously not her husband's name lah. Then every time the doctor call her, she will say, "Doctor, I had a baby last night." So she just imagine that she has a new child every night. Which is, to the doctor, he say, if I could stretch out my hand and restore her sanity, I wouldn't do it because she is much happier where she is now. Okay, I guess it's true lah. Probably she is happy in her own world. If you tell her like actually she is not what she thought she was, then I guess she will really feel very sad. But what can you do? You're really insane, right? Nothing much you can do lah. Okay, then he also talked about runaway wives. So a lot of people, why they run away is because they take their spouse, the husband take their spouse for granted. They never appreciate them. And then he went on to say this example about people. Okay, so there's a wife, right? Went to church for a self-improvement program. So when she come back from the self-improvement program, right, she asked the husband to list 6 things that he believed she could do to help her become a better wife. So she actually this husband have a lot of things that he want to list about her, but he did not say it to her. He said, let me think about it and give you an answer in the morning. So next morning, right, he get up early and then he to deliver flowers to the wife and say, I can't think of 6 things I would like to change about you. I love you the way you are. Okay. Then when she arrived home that morning, right, that evening, the wife go and greet him at the door. And she was almost in tears. And then the husband said he was extremely glad that he had not criticized her as she requested. But honestly, this example, right, I feel like if you cannot even say the truth towards your wife, sometimes it's like, doesn't it show the extent of your relationship? What I mean by secret of dealing with people. So you have to live like fake your entire life? And it's not even real appreciation in this. Of course there are things that he appreciates about her, but it's like, really, you say nothing you will change about you. It's a blatant lie, what? It's not even like secret with dealing with people. So I think this point is not very valid. Okay, then he goes on to say hurting people does not change them, never called for. Not true lah. I believe there are ways that people actually hurt me and I actually change my ways. I don't know whether about other people will they change, but for me, I don't think this is true. Then he reiterated his principle saying, give honest and sincere appreciation. Hello, the husband did not give honest and sincere appreciation. So I don't know what kind of example he's listing. Should list a better example. Okay, never mind. Number 3. He who cannot do this has the whole world with him. He who cannot walks a lonely way. Okay, I think this is a very weird expression. So anyway, he's just saying that when he went fishing in summer, personally he ownself like strawberries and cream, but for some strange reason, fish prefer worms. So when you go fishing, you didn't think about what you wanted, you thought about what the fish wanted. Okay, so he didn't bait the hook with strawberries and cream, he dangled a worm or grasshopper. Okay, so why not use the same common sense when fishing for people? I think everyone knows this common sense lah. It's just like whether they execute it only. So he's saying you should not always talk about what you want. So you should always talk about what other people want. Yeah, and show them how they can get it lah. So this is how you should influence people. So he say you should always, how can I make this person want to do it? Then he goes about talking about his example that he rent a grand ballroom for his lectures, because he also do lecture in addition to writing books. So at the beginning of the season, he was informed that he had to pay 3 times as much rent. Then he had already sold the tickets and then all the announcements were made lah. So he obviously doesn't want to pay the increase. So he said there's no use in discussing with the hotel about what he wanted, unless they were because they were only interested in what they wanted. Of course, they want more money lah. Why would they care about what he talked about? So he said he went to see the manager. Then he told the manager, I'm shocked that I got your letter, but I don't blame you at all. If I had been in your position, I would probably return a same letter myself. Then he said, your duty as manager a lot of things lah. Okay. Then he took a letter and then said he write advantages, disadvantages. Then he only write ballroom is free to rent to other people. Then disadvantages, he say they cannot increase his income from him because he's not going to pay it. That's not true. He's already sold his ticket. He's probably going to pay it. Okay, but anyway, then he say another disadvantage to you is that my lecture can attract a lot of people. Then it's good advertising for the hotel. Okay, I guess this point is valid, but his first point is not even valid. So anyway, he just wrote 2 disadvantages and 1 advantage. And then the next day, he received a letter from the hotel saying his rent will only be increased by 50% instead of 300%. So he showed off, he say, I got this reduction without saying a word about what I wanted. I thought about what the other person wanted and how he could get it. But I feel that he did not sufficiently put himself in the other person's shoes, because it's not true. Obviously it's like a half truth lah. Yeah, but okay, whatever. Then he just say, just arouse in the other person an eager one. Okay. Okay, so this is a summary of how to handle people for him. He said, don't criticize, give honest and sincere appreciation, arouse in the other person an eager one. Yeah, as I said, these 3 principles, I think a bit weird lah. Actually, the first and second, I don't completely agree. Number 3, I mean, I agree lah, but it's just that his example not very good. Yeah. Okay, give honest and sincere appreciation. Actually, I can agree with it. It's just that his example was not good also. For principle 1, don't criticize. Totally don't criticize, right? I don't think this is acceptable lah. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the second point. Second part of the book, he says, is about how to make people like you. Do this and you will be welcome anywhere. Okay, so he talked about a dog. Dog doesn't need to do anything and then people still love him. Like hen need to lay egg, cow need to give milk, but canary have to sing. So in short, he's asking you to become a dog lah. Yeah. Okay, so do this, you'll be welcome anywhere. Okay, so I think I missed out some part here, but okay, anyway, he's just saying like people are not interested in you, they are interested in themselves only. So like he give an example lah, how people are only interested in themselves. It's like when you see a group photo, you always look for your own photo first, right? Yeah, you see whether you look pretty, look okay or not. Then when there's a detailed study of telephone conversation, you also go like I. A lot of people go I. Yeah, because you will talk about what you want lah, instead of talking you, right? Okay, so that's his point. So if we try to impress people and get people interested in us, we will never have many true and sincere friends. Friends and real friends are not made that way. I can't say I 100% agree with this. I think maybe 50% only. Yeah, okay. Next part. Then he's saying the same things a preacher will tell you, but remember, you have to be interested in people if you want to be a successful writer of stories. Okay, so he's just saying you need to be interested in other people lah. Don't only care about yourself lor. But easier said than done lah. Okay. Then okay lah, this is one of his example. I think we can just skip it. Okay, then okay, so he gave another example. This example is he said at the bank, right, got somebody write to the bank people that have a teller that greet her person pleasantly. Then say about the mother, right, last time hospitalized for 5 months. Then he went to the teller. The teller always show concern for the mother and inquire about the progress. So he asked, is there any doubt that Mrs. Rosedale will continue to use this bank? Okay, I mean like it's nice to show concern but if you are like a bit too much, like you keep inquiring and then some people like value their privacy, they will not find this a good way to continue using the bank lah. So to each his own. So I don't think this is like valid for everything. You need to know the other person well, whether to know this point works lah. Okay, so as a conclusion, it says if you want others to like you want to develop real friendships, you have to help others at the same time help yourself. Okay, this point I completely agree. So every time when you want to sell something to someone, you should tell them how it can help them and how it can help yourself. Okay, you don't need to tell them how you can help yourself, just tell them how you can help them. That's all. So principle 1, become genuinely interested in people. Okay, I think it's quite valid. But the examples he give like very bad again. I don't know what kind of example he giving. Yeah. Okay, second point. Simple way to make a good first impression. Okay, so he talk about this woman suddenly got a lot of money, then trying to make impression on everyone. So her face still like very 臭脸, don't know why, like sour and selfish. She didn't realize that. Okay, so she's saying like what you wear on your face is the best lah. So always be smiling lah. So actions speak louder than words. So a smile says, I like you, you make me so happy, I'm glad to see you. So he's saying that's why dogs are such a hit, because they always see you and they are like almost smiling because they always like so excited, right? Yeah, so they say like that because of this, then we are naturally glad to see dogs. Not true, some people don't like dogs, but okay, go ahead. Then a baby smile has the same effect. Not true also, some people don't like babies, but okay, next. Then he talked about some companies that at first they succeeded because they have a good time conducting their business. Then later because of they go bigger, then maybe the fund become work and the business go down lah, because they lost all joy on it and they failed. Whether you have joy in your work will make your business successful. I guess it will in a sense lah, but there's a certain extent lah. You can't say like all those big companies, like although there are a lot of disgruntled people in it, you can't say those big companies are not successful. What? They are still successful. Yeah, so this example also not valid. Okay, you must have a good time meeting people if you expect them to have a good time meeting you. Not true. Not true. You can be very unhappy and a person can be very happy also. So example no good also. Everybody in this world is seeking happiness and there's one sure way to find it. That's by controlling your thoughts. Happiness doesn't depend on outward conditions. It depends on inner conditions. Okay, this point I completely agree. Whether one is happy or not, right? It doesn't matter about okay, can't say that outer conditions totally don't matter. But inner conditions matter a bit more than the outward conditions. Yeah, so I agree half of this sentence. So he's saying like maybe some people they are doing the same job, then some people are happy, some people are not happy lah. So yeah, it's true lah, it's true. It depends on your expectations lah. So you expect a lot, then of course you'll be not happy lah. Yeah. Okay, then he goes on to say, a man without a smiling face must not open a shop. So your smile is the messenger of your goodwill, so I must keep smiling all the time. Okay. Yeah, so continue to smile even if you don't feel it during a sales pitch. Okay, third point. So if you don't do this, you're headed for trouble. Okay, so his point here, right? What must you do here? You must remember every single person's name. See, let's talk about this example. Is this Jim Farley guy? He can call 50,000 people by their first names. Then during the year when he traveled as a salesman, when he meets someone new he will find out a lot of facts about the family and business and political opinions. Then he fixes all these facts in his mind. I mean, he must have a photographic memory lah. How is it possible? But okay, go ahead. Then, so last time don't have internet, he still go and do this kind of thing. How? This guy is like super effort. Okay, I mean, he's not wrong by saying what his secret of success is hard work. I mean, if you really go and memorize all these 50,000 person name, right? It's hard work. What? How is it not hard work? It's not really you memorize people's name. People see the effort you put in, then I think they appreciate it. Not like you are really memorizing the person's name. So anyway, his point is you have memorized people's name lah. Okay, then he give an example about this person name called Nicodemus. I don't know how to pronounce. Okay, then so he say most people just call this person name. Then after that, he made a special effort to say this guy's name several times before he made his call. Then he greeted him by his full name. Then the guy was so shocked. Then there was no reply from him for several minutes because he was so shocked people can pronounce his name. Then suddenly tears rolled down his cheeks also. But seriously, people can pronounce your name, then you got so touched or not? Seriously? Then he said, nobody in the 15 years have ever made the effort to call him by his right name. And he's so touched because of that. Really? Maybe in 1937, I don't think in this time and age got people so touched. Like really got people so touched, man? Cannot imagine. Okay, so he also gives some tips on how to remember people's names. So during a conversation, you should repeat the name several times and try to associate it with the person's mind and features. So, for example, I'm talking to John and I say, John, you must do this, John, something. Just keep repeating the person's name. Then you can remember the person's name. But it's not true lah. You know, repeat the person's name 1,000 times, you also can forget sometimes. Like maybe 10 years later, confirm forget, right? Then you never meet this John person for 10 years. It's most likely you'll forget, right? Okay, but anyway, he says, all this take time and good manners and made up of petty sacrifices. Okay, sure. I don't agree with this. I appreciate that people try to pronounce my name correctly because my name is very hard to pronounce. They go like Dionis or whatever. But it's not really like very touching if people pronounce my name correctly. is not a big deal, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so I don't really agree with this principle lah. But I guess can try to remember. Show that you are putting in effort. Yeah. Point 4, an easy way to become a good conversationalist. So he talked about his experience last night attend a bridge party, but he don't play bridge. There's a woman there who also don't play bridge. So the woman met him and he said, "Oh, I want you to tell me all about the wonderful places you have visited and sights you've seen." So as he sat down on the sofa, she also talked about her husband and she and her husband recently returned from a trip to Africa. Oh, okay, whatever lah. Just they went Africa. So he said, "Oh, how interesting! I've always wanted to see Africa, but I never got there except for a 24-hour stay once in Algiers. Tell me, do you visit the big game country?" "Yes." "How fortunate! I envy you. Do tell me about Africa." So basically, he just asked her to tell him about Africa. Then he kept her talking for 45 minutes, and she never ever asked about where he had travelled or what he had seen during these 45 minutes. So actually what she wanted was to talk about her own travel. She didn't really care about his travels, so that she can expand her ego. Yeah. Okay, so he said, was she unusual? No, many people are like that. Okay, the keyword is many people lah. Some people are those quiet type, then you need to keep the conversation going. So I guess it's true. Yeah, he did not say all people are like that. He said many. Yeah, this is a good qualification. Okay, so he said if you want to become a good conversationalist, you should always be an attentive listener. Always be interested. Always ask questions that the person wants to answer. Encourage them to talk more about themselves and accomplishments. Okay, so remember what I'm saying? People who are talking to you are always 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than in you and your problems. So whenever you go to a conversation, maybe just talk a bit about a problem. If they are very interested, then they will ask you more questions about it. Yeah. Okay, yeah, he's right about this. This is a good point. Next. 5th point. So how to interest people. When Roosevelt expected a visitor, he will always sit up late the night before reading up on the subject that he knew his guest was interested in. So he knows that the road to a person's heart is to always talk about the things that he treasures most lah. Okay, yeah, agreed. It's true. Yeah, if you talk about what I like, you will have more 默契 with me. 默契 means like, what's 默契 in English? I don't know what's 默契 in English. Okay, but yeah. Then so you talk about his example. His example is some guy want to go to Europe, and then one of the president of the corporation in America to pay the expenses of one of his boys for the trip. So I find this very weird. Like, why this guy would go and sponsor this guy's kids? But okay, never mind. Continuing with the example. So he went to see the man, and he recently heard about some news about this guy. Then he drew a check for $1 million, but the check was cancelled, and then he actually framed the check. So he think this is how he can connect with the guy lah. So he say, "Oh, can I see the check?" So when he entered office, he asked about this $1 million check lah. Then he say he never ever seen anybody write such a check, but it's like a bit like bullshitty, right? Like the check is a check, normal check, just that the number's different only what. Okay, but anyway, the guy very happy to show it to him. Then he admired it and asked him to tell me how it happened to be drawn. So, okay, anyway, the moral of the story is this guy, when you go in, right, you should not always talk about what you want. You should talk about what you think the other person wants. But I don't think he really would like to talk about the check, what. Very weird, like he actually like to talk about the check. Okay, so anyway, just talk about what the other person is interested in. Then, after that, in his example, the guy was like, "Oh, by the way, what was it you wanted to see me about?" So after that, they elaborate what he wants, and then he say, in the end, he sponsored the whole family to go to the country. Yeah. So apparently, just because of that, he requests to see that check, right? The president of that company actually sponsored his whole family to go Europe for 7 weeks. Very weird, right? I don't know lah, but okay lor. Rich people like that, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so talking in terms of the other person pays off for both party. Yeah, okay, correct lah. Talk about other people's interests, but I don't think his example very good. I don't know why his example all not so good one. It's like sometimes he makes sense, but the example really don't make sense. Okay, and my point 6. How to make people like you instantly. Okay, I will think this is like virtually impossible. How can instantly? Then maybe you person hate your face, then there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, but never mind, he just talked about the example. So somehow he's just waiting to post a letter, and then he also want to make the clerk like him lah. Must say something nice about the clerk that he can honestly admire. But sometimes there's really nothing you can honestly admire. So anyway, he just remarked with enthusiasm, "Oh, I certainly wish I had your head of hair." Then apparently this like goes on in a pleasant little conversation saying, "Oh, many people have admired my hair." Like really? This kind of hair conversation can actually go on? But okay, yeah, sure. Next, then he say this person, because of this compliment, right, he went out to lunch that day walking on air. He went home and told his wife about this hair thing and looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, it's a beautiful head of hair." It's too much exaggeration, what? How can a guy just because of one comment about the hair go and think so much? Okay. So he said he even told this story out in public on his lectures, and then a man asked him afterwards, "So what are we trying to get at him?" So he said that, "Why is this guy so selfish thinking I'm trying to get something out of him? Say why can't we radiate a little of happiness and pass on a bit of honest appreciation without trying to get something out of the other person?" But he just said he want to impress the person. Why you want to impress the person? Really for nothing, just because you want honest appreciation. And the honest appreciation is just his head of hair. Are you serious? Okay, but never mind, okay, whatever. This is what he says lah. Yeah, I think it's a bit fake guy, okay. So he talked about, okay, how you should make other ways other people can like you instantly. So for example, the waitress bring you mashed potato instead of fries, because you order fries ma, then you say, "I'm sorry to trouble you, but I prefer French fries." So she'll probably reply, no trouble at all, and we get to change the potatoes, because we have shown respect for her. But this is basic respect, nothing to do with liking you or not. But actually you ask her to change something, she confirm not happy. What do you mean she like you instantly? But okay, never mind. Then he goes on to say, "I'm sorry to trouble you," must use all these kind of like niceties lah. Courtesies, sorry, not niceties. It's the same lah, actually. So basically have the hallmark of good breeding lah. Then people like you instantly. That's not true lah. Some people don't really want you to be very formal, then it makes you feel like a bit distant from them. So I can't agree with this entirely again. Okay, so he talked about this example of niceties. So this guy, he drove to Long Island with his wife to visit some of her relatives. So the wife left him to chat with an old auntie of hers and rushed off to visit some of the younger relatives. Soon he looked around the house lah to see what he can honestly admire, because he attended this guy's class ma. Yeah, so he commented, "Oh, this house was built in the 1890, right?" Then she said, "Yeah." Okay, then it reminds me of the house I was born in, he said. "It's beautiful, well built and roomy. You know, they don't build houses like this anymore." Okay, fine, this is a genuine compliment. Really like the house very nice, you want to compliment the house. Okay, so the lady agreed. And then he said, nowadays young folk don't care for beautiful home. All they want is a small apartment, then they go off getting off in their automobiles. Not true of all young folks, but okay, you can say what you want to say. Okay, then this is the dream house, she said, because this is a house that was built by her husband and they had dreamt about it for years before they built it. So they didn't have an architect, they planned it all themselves. So she was very proud of the house lah. So she keep showing this guy around the house, and then he keep like call her, say, "Oh wow, so such a nice house, wow, such a nice treasure, old English tea set, China set, whatever lah." Okay, so after showing him around, I took him to the garage. Then at the garage there was a Packard car in mint condition. So what's a Packard car? I have no idea, but anyway, probably it's a very expensive car. So the woman said, "My husband bought that car for me shortly before he passed on. I have never ridden in it since his death. You appreciate nice things. I'm going to give this car for you." Oh my god, this guy just 中 toto. He get a car from this auntie that he don't even know. Okay, then he say, Auntie, you overwhelm me. I appreciate your generosity, of course, but I couldn't possibly accept it. Not even a relative of yours. I have a new car and you have many relatives that would like to have that packet. Yeah, so she basically don't like her relative. Like, she's just saying, oh, I have many relatives waiting for till I die so they can get the car, but they're not able to get it. So he decided to give to him, which actually he is also a relative because he married the wife, right? Then the wife this is a aunt of the wife, what? So it's very relative. I don't know what she's talking about. Okay, but this as example only, whatever. Okay, then goes on to say, why don't you sell it to a second-hand dealer? So she very angry. She's like, sell it? Why would I sell this car? Okay, so anyway, she's not gonna sell it. She want to give it to him. But I don't know why she's not offended that he asked her to sell. He should be offended, right? Because you want to give it to her. I mean, she want to give it to him, and then he want to sell it. Yeah, but anyway, she's not offended and still give him the car. Yeah, so I really don't understand this example. It does not really show how you can make people like you instant. I mean, I'm sure the person will be very happy, but to give the person a car just because he admired the house, a bit absurd, right? But okay lah, maybe got a lot of absurd people around in 1937. Yeah. Okay, so let's end with always talk to people about themselves and they will listen for hours. Make the other person feel important and do it sincerely. Do it sincerely, I don't know whether this guy doing it sincerely because he really just look around the whole house and really try to dig something out. It's how sincere can it be? Yeah, but okay. I mean, if you really do it sincerely, I guess it makes sense lah. But easier said than done lah. Okay, so this is the summary of how to make people like you. To become genuinely interested people, smile, remember a person's name, become a good listener, and encourage people to talk about themselves, then always talk about other person, make the other person feel important, and do it sincerely. Okay? Then now we'll move on to how to win people to your way of thinking. Okay, so he said basically as a person you can never win an argument because if you win an argument then the other person not happy also, then you don't win the argument so you basically don't win anything from winning an argument. So whether you win or lose an argument, don't have an argument at all. So that's what I say. Yeah, so he talked about his stupid example. His example is a guy that is old friend, then he say a story and then he's not happy. Also, I mean some guy say the story, then some part of the story is wrong lah. Then he tried to correct the part of the story. Then his friend beside him tell him kick him tell him stop correcting the person, let the person think whatever lah. But okay, of course like you should save face for the other person lah. So I guess it's a bit gao wei, but it's true. Like sometimes no point having an argument. Like just let him be wrong lor. I mean not too absurd. Just try your best not to care about it. Yeah, care less. Okay, I don't know. I'm actually advocating the opposite from him. He's advocating care more. That's why I'm saying care less. Okay, never mind. Not very sure. Okay, never mind. Next point. So he's go on to say you may be dead right as you speak along your argument, but as far as your changing your mind is concerned, you will probably just be as futile as you were wrong. Yeah, but it's not true lah. Some people really can like convince you through their arguments. There are a lot of people who can like lawyers or whatever. Not true that every argument you will lose lah. So I need to agree 50%. Like some things you can let go, some things you cannot let go. Okay, so he say after an argument or whatever, always thank your opponent sincerely for their interest. So anyone who takes time to disagree with you is interested in the same things as you are. Yeah, so ask you to think through what the opponent said lah. But he still come to the conclusion that the only best way to get out of an argument, the only way to get the best out of an argument is to avoid it. So it's basically saying no arguments. Yeah. I disagree. It might not be true of most situations, but yeah, you can try to apply it in some conditions. Okay, his second point is a sure way of making enemies and how to avoid it. Okay. So he's saying never strike a direct blow or at someone's intelligence, judgment, pride and self-respect because that will make them strike back and it will never make them change their minds. So he say you should never begin by announcing I'm going to prove so and so to you. That's bad. That's like saying I'm smarter than you are. I'm going to tell you a thing or two that will make you change your mind. So that's a challenge that arouses people are competitive lah, they will think like, why are you doing this? Like form of layer of defense mechanism and want to battle with you before it starts. So if you are going to prove something, don't let anybody know it, just do it subtly. Yeah, so he elaborates by saying that you cannot teach a man anything, you can only help to find it within himself. Then he said that Socrates said that one thing only I know is that I know nothing. Okay lor, win liao lor. Socrates know nothing, I must know nothing. That's what he's saying lah. Okay, sure. To each his own. Then he say when you want to talk about the other person may be wrong or you might be wrong, then you must say, you don't say the other person wrong, you say I may be wrong, but let's examine the facts. So you put it in an indirect way by saying that person might be wrong, but actually maybe I'm the wrong one, but let's examine the facts lah. So that's what he's saying. So he says you will never get into trouble by admitting that you are wrong. That's not true lah, because if in the corporate world, like for example, you give advice to someone, then you suddenly say, oh, I'm wrong. How can you not get into trouble? You confirm get into trouble lah. But imagine the person already acted on it. They do a 100k deal on it, or 1 million deal on it, or many million deal on it. Then you suddenly say you're wrong. How you mean you won't get into trouble by admitting you're wrong? Don't make sense, or you'll get sued, right? Yeah, but I don't know what this person's saying. Maybe in 1937 you can't get sued lah. Yeah. Okay, goes on to say about some Christian things that I don't really know about. Okay, then basically he's just saying show respect for other people's opinion, never say you're wrong. So you can say they're wrong, but you must say it in an indirect way. Yeah, I guess it works that way, but I don't like his this part lah. You never get into trouble by admitting you're wrong. That's not true. Okay, then he goes on to say if you're wrong, admit it. For point 3 lah, this point 3 now. So he goes on to say about his example with a policeman. And then when the policeman caught him without the muzzle, then he own self admit he was wrong, and then the policeman actually let him go. That's not true what? It's not true that every policeman will let you go. If the person is like those law by law guy, he confirm will let you go what. He will still go and find you what. So by saying, by admitting you're wrong, sometimes people let you go lah. I mean sometimes it works, sometimes depends on the person. Yeah, did he say sometimes only? But anyway, he's saying if you're wrong, admit it. It means saying all the time you should do it. So this is questionable point. Then he talk about he has one guy who teaches a course in Hong Kong, talk about how the Chinese culture presents some problem and sometimes it's necessary to recognize that the benefit of applying a principle may be more advantageous than maintaining an old tradition. So he's saying his own principle, this principle, if you're wrong, admit it, is more important than maintaining the Chinese tradition. Okay, so this guy, right, this Hong Kong guy, he was estranged from his son for many years. Because last time this guy was an opium addict, but now he's cured already lah. But in the Chinese tradition, 老人不可以先做那个第一步啦, like you cannot take the first step. So the father felt like it was the son's initiative towards a reconciliation. So he also told the class about the grandchildren that he had never seen and how much he desired to be reunited with his son. I mean, if you really want something in life, who cares about what culture or what, right? Just go ahead and do what you want to do lah. Yeah, but anyway, this guy in the end, he go and admit that he's wrong to his son. So even though he lose face by asking for forgiveness, but now he managed to have a new relationship with his son, his daughter-in-law, and the grandchildren. So actually, he got much more from the admitting he was wrong lah. Yeah, but I guess it doesn't apply in every situation. In the terms of like family, they are more willing to forgive and forget. But actually in the corporate world, I don't think it's if you're maybe a bit wrong, right, you should try to force like not so wrong, like because it's not like as clear cut that you will get something out of it. It really depends on the situation. But in the family wise, I think you should admit it lah. Because your family will be okay to forgive and forget for you. Yup. Okay, next point 4. A drop of honey. That's a very weird point that he made. I mean, like, this is not a good appropriate title lah. So he's just saying that if you are aggressive towards someone else, then they will be aggressive back lah. Yeah. So okay, so you must always like put yourself in the other person's shoes lah, and try to be diplomatic lor. So okay, so he had this guy that attended his class. This guy wanted to this guy is renting a house lah. Then his landlord want to raise the rent, so he wanted to try to see if he can get the rent reduced. So he said many other tenants tried and failed lah. Then since he studied this kind of course on how to deal with people, he's going to try to deal with the tenant. So he write him a letter. Then soon the landlord and his secretary come to see him lah. Then he meet him at the door with a friendly greeting. So instead of like showing like he's hostile, he show a friendly disposition, that kind of thing, and complimented him on the way he ran the building and told him he want to stay another year but cannot afford. He said he had never received such reception from a tenant and he hardly knew what to make of it. Really? He got so many tenants and only this guy trying to be the nice guy? I don't really believe it, but okay. Yeah, so after that the tenant keep talking about his own trouble, talk about complaining tenant, don't know what lah, a lot of law thing. Then as he was leaving, he turned to us. So without even that guy asking to reduce the rent, right? That he even reduced the rent lah. But that's quite unlikely lor. Like why would he's like standing on the upper ground and suddenly want to agree to reduce your rent for you when you didn't ask about it? Okay, but he's just saying that's what they want to do because you are friendly and nice, then he will do that for you lah. Okay, so as he was leaving, then he even turned to him and said, what kind of decorating can I do for you? Okay, yeah, so he just saying what you can do by being friendly lah. You can get so much more being friendly. So if he had used the rent reduction method by the other tenants, like try to force the landlord complain, then he say he cannot get the rent to be reduced lah. Yeah, but for this example, I don't think it's 100% valid. It depends lah. Like knowing the landlord well will help you in determining whether your rental can get reduced or. Yeah, but actually he don't know this guy well lah. He's just try and error. He managed to try the friendly way and then managed to get through the landlord. But if the landlord is a very weird person, just don't want to talk to anyone, then there's nothing you can do about it. Okay, so moving on to the fifth point. The secret of Socrates. Okay, so this plan, right, is to say things that y'all agree on first. So for example, y'all both agree on like y'all both want to stay, that kind of thing or whatever lah. Then you just keep to get the person to say yes. Then after that, you move on to more difficult kind of issues. Then he say because he keeps saying yes, then maybe he will stop. He won't like try to say no lah. What? It depends lah. Depends on the person's personality. Like maybe I'm not really listening, then I yes all the way lah. Then if the person is really listening intently, it's unlikely that yes will become no. But I mean yes a bit more that he will try to say yes rather than no. But it doesn't really help the situation, I think. Yeah, so this is the fifth principle. I don't think it's very secret. Number 6. The safety valve in handling complaints. Okay, so when you handle complaints, it's saying you should not try to win others to your way of thinking. You should be like letting the other person just talk themselves out lah, because they want to actually air their grievances. So you should not interrupt them. You should not disagree with them, no matter how much you might be tempted to interrupt. Because even if you interrupt, right, they might not pay attention to you because they still have their own ideas that are crying for expression. So you should always listen patiently with an open mind and be sincere about it. I hate this be sincere sentence. Like you pretend, it's like he keeps saying be sincere. How sincere can you be? Like really listening about other people's complaints for maybe, for example, this person complained to you for 5 hours. You really sit there for 5 hours and be sincere about it? I don't know. Maybe last time they very free, then they can do that. Yeah, I mean, sincerity, yes, I I think I will be sincere in listening to the problem. Maybe this guy repeat the problem like 10 times, then I cannot be sincere lah. You need to have a limit to sincerity, right? Okay, then he talk about his another example. So his another example is like there's one manufacturer that need to present to a group of people. So when he's supposed to get a deal lah. So but when he reached the place, right, he lost his voice, like got some sore throat or something lah. Then he lost his voice. Then he wrote on a pad of paper, "Gentlemen, I have lost my voice. I'm speechless." Then one of the guys just woke up and said, "I'll do the talking for you." It's like instead of like he presented to the judge, one of the judge actually stand up and say, "I'll help you do the talking." Then he also take the sample and then praise their own good point. Then he talk about the merits of the person's good lah. So it's one of the judges lah. So he do the talking for me and took the position. Then his participation only consisted, the guy that lost his voice, his participation only consisted of smiles and nods and a few gestures. So as a result of this unique conference, right, he was actually awarded the contract. Then he got, this is a very huge deal lah. It's one of the biggest order that he ever received. Then he said, actually, if he didn't lose his voice, right, he would definitely have lost the contract because he had the wrong idea about the whole proposition about what the judges wanted. Then he only discovered during the one of the judges helped him present, right, he discovered like how important it is to let the other person do the talking lah. Yeah, so it's like sometimes lah. I mean, this guy used the word sometimes. I give him credit for it. Sometimes, yeah. But actually, this example is not a good example because really this guy just got lucky lah. Like really, not true lah. Not true that in this situation you will always win the contract mah. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, conclusion is always let the other person do a great deal of talking so you can understand more about the person lah. Yeah, true lah. Let the other person do a great deal of talking. But if the person is a quiet person, there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. Number 7, he talks about how to get cooperation. So no one likes to feel that he's being told to do something. So he talked about this example. This guy, he lost thousands of dollars commission before he learned his truth. So he keep trying to sell sketches to a studio. Then every time he went to the studio, right, he always the guy at the studio always look at the sketches carefully and said, "No, I guess we don't get together today." So that means that they don't want to buy the sketches lah. So after like 150 failures, right, he realized that he's doing something wrong lah. Then he tried to develop new ideas and generate new enthusiasm. So he decided on this new approach, like he will use unfinished artist sketches. Then he will go over to the buyer's place and ask, "Do me a little favor, here are some of the uncompleted sketches. Can you tell me how we can finish them in a way such that you will use them?" Then the buyer looked at the sketches and then he said, leave this with me for a few days. Then come back and see me. So the guy, right, he come back 3 days later and got his suggestions, took the sketches back to the studio and then finished according to the buyer's idea. The result was that apparently all his sketches were bought. So then he said he realized why he failed for years to sell these sketches lah, but it's like this guy, he completely created the design. Why he need to even buy sketches from him? He just created the sketches himself lah. Don't know what kind of example is this also leh. Yeah, so why he need to buy from the guy if he created the designs? Okay, but anyway, he's saying this is his example of let the other person feel that their idea is theirs. Then they will want to be invested in it lah. I mean, it's true. Yeah, I agree with this, but I don't agree with his example again. His example is not good. Yeah. 8. A formula that will work wonders for you. Okay, so remember that other people may be totally wrong, but they don't think so. So don't condemn them because any fool can do that. So instead, you should try to understand them, and only wise and tolerant people will try to do that. Try to honestly put yourself in his place. Okay, I'm sure everyone knows this theory. Always try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and imagine what will happen lah. So yeah, this is an example which I don't think is a good example. Okay, so I will not be reading it. So yeah, I agree with this point totally. You must honestly try to see things from another person's point of view to win other people over. Number 9. So what everybody wants. So he's saying you should be sympathetic with other people's ideas and desires. Yeah, I agree with this. I didn't quote his example because I think it was too complicated. I did not even understand his example. It was so weird. Okay, principle 10. Appeal to noble motives. So for example, you have a real reason for doing something. After that, you come up with a noble reason, so to bluff people that you're actually doing something noble. So it's like such a fake thing to do, but okay, I guess it works in the real world. Yeah, he talked about this example that this guy always robbed train and held up banks, then gave this money to neighboring farmers to pay off their mortgages. So he all like it's like always they rob something, they will think like they have a noble cause lah. So you should always think of a noble cause, then maybe people will think better about you. Like for example, Robin Hood, nobody thinks he's a robber, right? They think he's like doing good lah. Yeah, so this is the theory lor. You should always appeal to nobler motives. Okay, point 11. He says you should always do dramatization. So like television commercials, right? They always show dramatic techniques to sell products. So like they will always show like this 洗衣机 wash already, then got a lot of stains still left. Then this 洗衣机 that they are promoting, then wash already nothing left lah, something like that lah. So it's like dramatize the effect lah. So this is how you should get people to align to what you think lor. Yep. Number 12. So if all else fails, his 11 points, all his 11 points fails, he say you should try this. So he give an example about okay, so number 12 is supposed to be throw down a challenge lah. So he gives the example like there's this whole mail company people, they all never produce their quota of work. Then the manager come over and ask how many things that you make today. Then they say 6. So now he then take the chalk, right, and he write a big number 6 on the floor. Then when the night shift came in and saw the 6 and asked what I meant, right, then they say the big boss was here today. He asked how many things they made. They told him 6. Then he chalk it down on the floor, like explain what happened. So the next morning, right, the boss came to the mail again. Then the night shift robbed off the 6 and actually replaced it with a big 7. Then when the day shift reported for work, they saw the big 7 on the floor. So the night shift, so they like feel like there's a challenge lah. Wow, you all do 7, I can do more. Then they try to do 10 lah. Then after that they manage 10 lah. Then they keep changing and like so there was like competition. So it helped to trigger production. So the principle is the way to get things done is to stimulate competition. So not really in the money getting way, but in the desire to excel. Yup, I guess this works. Yes, it will work. It depends on how competitive the person is. If the person not competitive, then nothing you can do. Then in their case, all his 12 points not very useful. Okay, actually I think some of his points really quite useful. It's just the examples not good. Yep. So this is the summary. How to win people with your way of thinking. You can read yourself. Then now we move on to the last part. How to be a leader without giving offense or arousing resentment. So his first point, if you must really find fault with someone, right, you must always start with a good point. So begin with praise and honest appreciation. I think begin with praise and honest appreciation when you are feeling negative feelings towards the person is very hard to do. Of course, you should always adhere to it, but it's very hard to do. Yeah, I think it's a good point. His example not very important. Okay, for number 2, so how to criticize and not be hated for it. Okay, so he gave his example is okay. So how to criticize and not be hated for it. So as he actually mentioned in one of the points above, so you must correct the person, but don't call attention to the person's mistakes indirectly. So actually a lot of his points are actually repeated. So this is one of the points that are repeated. So he came up with the example, he talked about this employee smoking at the meals. So he pointed the sign and say, no, so he didn't point the sign, he just say, I appreciate boys if you will smoke this on the outside. So they know they have broken a rule, but they also admire him because he didn't say anything about it and ask them to go out and smoke, that's all. Yeah, so apparently this make them feel important and then everyone love the boss lah. Okay, questionable. Depends on how you say lah. How you say is very important. Yeah, this will work lah, but you must say it in a really very diplomatic way lah. Okay, third point. Talk about your own mistakes first. Okay. I guess this will like help to lower the other person's defense mechanism when you talk about their bad points. So his example is that there's this guy family that both him and his wife are smokers, then they don't want the son to smoke. Then he talk about how it's actually a bad thing for him to smoke. Then he didn't talk about how bad it is for the son to smoke lah. He just say, oh, last time I got cough, whatever, all very bad, right? You don't like, right? Then like somehow, but he didn't ask his son to stop smoking lah. He just talked about the bad things though. So he didn't force his son or whatever. So yeah, so he said this way you can influence people to stop smoking. But it really depends on the son lah. Like the son just don't give a shit. There's nothing you can do. So again, I think his example is not a very good example. Yeah, but talk about your own mistake before criticizing another person can work. It depends on the other person lah. It's not a idea that will work for everyone. Okay, point 4. No one likes to take orders. Not true. Some people like to be ordered around. That's why there's a dom and the sub. Yeah, dom and the sub. Who say no one likes to take orders? Not true. Maybe in the 1937, maybe true. Yeah, so he talked about this student park the car somewhere that is not supposed to park lah. Then you like how you want to get this person to move it, right? It's not to tell them directly to move it. You should have say, oh, whose car is in the driveway? Then they will feel guilty and they move the car themselves. Okay, I guess this will work. Indirectly, they will not feel like a bit buay-song, like, hey, why you ask me to move my car, that kind lah. Yeah, this can work depending on the other receiving party lah. It really depends on the other receiving party. It doesn't work for like, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Number 5, let the other person save face. So there was this guy, this is the example I give lah. This guy that he's not very useful. Then they didn't sack him lah. They just give him a new title and then call him something else. Yeah. So in the end, everyone is happy. But then he's still employing a useless guy, right? So I think it's still a bad example. So anyway, he just want to let the person save face, but he never save money lah. So it depends if you want to let the person save face or save money. But you should let the person save face. Depends on the situation. I don't 100% agree with this. Yeah. Number 6, how to spur people on to success. So his how to spur people on to success is always praise someone, like even for the slightest improvement. I feel that this might actually backfire. For example, you keep praising, this person, oh, you improve then the person keep like get to their head, right? Then they become complacent and then they just stop trying to work hard. It really backfire. It's not always working on. I don't know lah, maybe it works in the 1937 again. But in this current world, it's not true that every single praise will work lah. And like, okay, it's true that in the current world, there's actually not enough praise and appreciation. Like for example, if you do a very good piece of work, your boss most likely will not tell you anything. But if you do a bad piece of work, he will definitely come and talk to you. Yeah. So yes, I agree there should be more praise and for every improvement, but not to the extent that the person become complacent and then start doing other funny stuff lah. Yeah, it's like maybe 80% true, I guess. 7, give a dog a good name. Okay, so basically this is telling you to give the appropriate titles to the person lah, so they try to live up to the expectation. Like for example, you call him a head mechanic, then this guy will try to do his best to become the head mechanic lah. Yeah. Give the other person a fine reputation to live up to. not true lah. If the person not motivated, you give whatever name, it doesn't matter. 50% true, I guess. Can work, can don't work. Yeah. Make the fault seem easy to correct. Okay, so you talk about this dancing lesson, then suddenly this instructor, right, going to tell him, oh, you everything all wrong. Then this person want to totally stop learning dancing. But if, for example, if she had kept praising him and say, oh, you did this right, then say, oh wow, you have the natural sense of rhythm. So you keep encouraging the person and make the fault seem easy to correct, right? Then people will think they are very good and keep trying at it. Okay, sometimes they think we're very good and we'll not be trying more. 50% true again, yeah. So yeah, I don't think this is 100% valid also. Some people hear you, like you say, you talk about them being a failure, then they actually are very motivated to prove you wrong. Right? This is not true that maybe it's the fault easy to correct, they are more motivated. It really depends on the personality of the person. So this is again 50% true. Number 9, make people glad to do what you want. Okay, this point is a very good point. It sure work one. You must make people happy, then they will want to do what you ask them to do lah. Yeah. So how you do this, right, is you try to change the other person's attitude. So like this example, he called her into the office and appoint her the supervisor of price tag. So she's responsible for keeping all the shelves properly tagged. And then this somehow changed her attitude completely. And then she fulfilled her duties satisfactorily from then on. So apparently men are ruled by toys. I really don't think this works in today's world lah. Giving someone a new posting means they will become more, like their attitude to change for better. It doesn't work all the time. Okay, I've come to the end. This is a summary for becoming a leader. I think a lot of these principles are not valid anymore, and the examples he gave were very horrible. He needs to give better examples. Yeah, I mean some of the things can be valid, but really the examples really needs work. Okay, this is really the end of the book. I hope you have enjoyed the summary and the review of the book. Yeah, if you did, please like and subscribe. Thank you.